welcome back to the Fantasy Football Field Guide. Today we are going to do part 2 of what we did last Saturday, but first let's go to the Twitter. We got where will Mac Jones go in the draft? We got top 5, 6 through 10, 10 to 32, or second round. Personally, I think he's going to go 10 to 32, but could easily either go top 5 or 6 through 10. It's so hard to predict because so many teams need a quarterback. They might just get desperate. I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones. I think he's good, but I guess we'll just see where he goes. But today we are going to predict the NFC starting quarterbacks. So let's get right into that. All right, so predicting all the QBs in the NFL. This is part 2. This is the NFC division. Here we go. So for the Packers, easy one. We got Aaron Rodgers. He NFL MVP, obviously. I don't know if he'll have as good of a season this year. It really depends on what the Packers do in the offseason or in the draft. I think they could pick up a guy like De'Ami Brown, or if Elijah Moore falls that far, I don't think he will, or Rashad Bateman maybe. I just think they should get him a weapon, but I can also see them going defense. So with that, let's go to the next one. Staying in the AFC North with the Vikings, we have another pretty easy one. Kirk Cousins. Great quarterback. I think he's very underrated. He is kind of that game manager, but he's more than that as well because he's got pretty good arm talent. So I think the Vikings will have a bounce back year this year with less injuries, hopefully, and that defense should be better. We're going to have to see what they do at that corner position. I think that's their weakness right now, but I really think that Kirk Cousins can have a big year this year. Fantasy-wise, I'd say we said the average quarterbacks last week, like Big Ben, Joe Burrow. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be on that range, but there's going to be some weeks where he can put up monster numbers because he's going to have Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. Irv Smith, tight end, is emerging, so we'll see what happens with that. But I really like Kirk Cousins, and we'll go on to the next one. Chicago Bears. I think Bears fans are hoping that it's someone different, but it's going to be Andy Dalton, at least for the first few games. I don't see them drafting a quarterback because I don't see them trading up, really. They made a big push for Russell Wilson, so they might trade up to get a quarterback, but I think they would rather just wait it out. They might think that Andy Dalton is the savior. I wouldn't agree with that, but they might think so. And that defense is pretty good. They just cut their best corner, but they still have Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith. I'm blanking on the safety's name. Sorry about that, Bears fans. I just can't think of it. But yeah, Andy Dalton, fantasy-wise, I don't think he's worth a fantasy roster. The weapons just aren't there. You got Allen Robinson, who's good, but your second receiver is Darnell Mooney, who's shown flashes, but can he really be that second option that you really want? We'll have to see. I wouldn't draft him. I would stay away from him. Next up, the Lions. I'm going to stick with Jared Goff on this one. People are saying they could draft a quarterback. I mean, I would see why, but it's just sounding like the Lions really like Jared Goff and they want to make a push with him. So I see them drafting the best receiver available at 7, or even trading back to get more picks. I just don't see them taking a quarterback because Jared Goff isn't old. I think he's 25. I may be wrong, but he's really good. He's okay. He has proven that he can go to a Super Bowl. Now, that may have been a product of Sean McVay's offense, but he can still make the throws. So I don't think he's a bad quarterback at all. Definitely a downgrade from Matt Stafford, but he's also younger than Matt Stafford. So I don't see him getting any better, but he still has potential to. Fantasy-wise, unless they get another weapon, don't draft him. There's nothing there for him to throw to. He's got TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift, and they just signed Jamal Williams, but he's not worth a spot. He wasn't worth a spot last year, in my opinion. So he's got worse receivers now, so take that how you want. Moving on to the NFC South. Buccaneers, pretty easy one. We got Tom Brady. I mean, there's no debate. It's going to be Tom Brady. Barring injuries, obviously. All these are barring injuries. We hope no injuries happen. But Tom Brady just went to a Super Bowl, just won the Super Bowl, and he could very easily do it again. I mean, he's just unbelievable. He seems like he gets better with age, and the team brought back all of the starters. So, I mean, it sucks for all the other fans. I don't think anybody likes Tom Brady unless you're a Buccaneers fan. I think even Patriots fans don't like him that much anymore. But he's going to be right in that conversation for the Super Bowl again. So, fantasy-wise, I wouldn't say he's a top-tier quarterback, but he's better than average. So I would probably say above average quarterback, probably around that 22 to 24 range. He really turned it on last year, towards the end of the year. Kind of started off slow, but this is his second year in the offense, so I expect him to be pretty good throughout the year. Nothing major, but I mean, it's Tom Brady. You got to expect the best. Next up, the Saints. Now, this was a toss-up. It's either Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, and I really believe in Jameis Winston. I think he can turn this offense into something powerful. You saw what they could do with Drew Brees last year. Not saying Drew Brees is bad, but Jameis Winston has better arm talent and better mobility, and I think that's really big for this offense. He might not be as smart or have the awareness that Drew Brees has, but he is talented. You can't forget he just threw for over 5,000 yards just a couple years ago. Yes, he threw 30 interceptions, but that's still more than 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. He's talented. He was a number one pick for a reason. So, Saints fans, I would be happy with what you have, whether it be Taysom Hill or Jameis, but I would expect Jameis to be that starter. Fantasy-wise, I do expect him to be really good. I mean, he's got the weapons. He's got Michael Thomas. He's got Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. Still got Latavius Murray there, so he's got the weapons, and I believe he can do big things with them. Next up, we have the Panthers. It's going to be Sam Darnold. They've already expressed that Teddy Bridgewater can start looking for trades, so it's looking like they don't want him to start. They said they wouldn't be against him coming back, but as a backup. So I don't really agree with it. I don't know why they really traded for Sam Darnold in the first place, but he has more upside, I guess, than Teddy Bridgewater. But Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback, so you just traded for a bad quarterback, in my opinion. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't hate Sam Darnold, but I mean, I just don't think he's going to get any better than what he's shown. He's had bad play calling, yes, and he's had bad offensive lines, but like this Panthers offensive line isn't much better, maybe even like the same. And then the play calling will be better, but it's just up to him. A lot of his mistakes are mental, but if he can figure that out, he can be okay. We're just gonna have to see. I'm not really a fan of Sam Darnold, but fantasy-wise, I don't think he's worth a spot. I feel like I'm being harsh today, but it's the truth. Next up, we have the Falcons. This is gonna be Matt Ryan. Even if they draft a quarterback, I don't expect him to start. So Matt Ryan still got plenty in the tank. It doesn't look like he's lost any of his ability to push the ball downfield. He seems a little antsy in the pocket now, taking some sacks that he shouldn't take, but he's still really good. And he's got weapons still. He's got Julio, Calvin Ridley. And they're going to draft a running back, but he's got Mike Davis right now, who's plenty good enough. So I really like Matt Ryan. For a fantasy spot, I would put him on the same as like Tom Brady. So that 22 to 24. This Falcons team is built to win now, and he's got an offensive-minded coach. So I think he's going to put up big numbers this year. Maybe not his MVP season numbers, but I think he's going to put up big numbers and surprise a lot of people. I would consider him a very, very good option in fantasy. Next up, we got the Cowboys. Obviously, barring injury, it'll be Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was the best fantasy quarterback last year at the beginning before he got hurt, unfortunately, but he is going to put up monster stats again. Sorry, my recording cut out there. But he's just going to put up monster stats again with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Zeke is coming back. So Dak Prescott is going to be a really, really good fantasy option. Maybe not the best like he was last year, because I see guys like Kyler Murray taking a big step. Lamar Jackson is going to come out firing. Obviously Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. But after that, he could be the next guy. So definitely consider him a top end starter. Don't think he's going to just be slow coming off that injury, because I think he's just going to be firing. And that Cowboys team is built to win now. So if they figure some things out with that defense, they're going to be scary. Next up, the Washington football team. Now, this is tough because in my mock draft, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to ruin it, because that'll be next week. Next week's Wednesday video will be a mock draft. Just telling you right now. But this is either going to be a rookie, or it's going to be Fitzpatrick, or it might even be Taylor Heineke. But I don't think they would bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick if they're not going to start him. So I have Ryan Fitzpatrick starting. He's that gunslinger. I don't really know if that's what Washington needs, because they got a good defense. They just need someone that doesn't make mistakes. And Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't really that guy. He's a good quarterback, and maybe that's all Washington needs to win the division. They won it last year with guys like Taylor Heineke and Alex Smith. So I don't see any reason why they can't win it again. But Ryan Fitzpatrick just doesn't seem like the right fit, but he's going to win games. He always does. For fantasy, not worth a spot. I mean, he's got Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, but it's still Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, no bad. I'm not trying to disrespect him, but he's never been worth anything really in fantasy. So I wouldn't expect him to just turn it on all of a sudden going to the Washington football team. But I don't know. He could be a waiver wire ad if you got some guys hurt or some bye weeks, but I don't know. Just not. Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't really excite me that much. But next we got the Eagles. This one is going to be Jalen Hurts. I wouldn't get too comfortable though, because I can definitely see them drafting a quarterback. There was some reports that they were trying to get back into the top 10. And I don't think you try to get back in the top 10 if you're not looking at least maybe at a quarterback. So I like Jalen Hurts as fantasy quarterback. He's not my favorite quarterback, but he's good. I mean, he's talented. He can run the ball. That's always going to be very helpful in fantasy. And he's still young. So we'll see the second year in the system. I don't have much faith in him, honestly, but he could prove me wrong. And he's definitely worth a roster spot because he's still young. You never know what you're going to get out of him. Still has potential to be really good. And last year he put up some really big games. So he's definitely worth a roster spot. Maybe not your full-time starter. Or maybe he is. I don't know. But I wouldn't bank on it. He's weird. I just can't see him as a full-time starter. But next up, we have the Giants. Now, this is another one. Don't be surprised if they take a quarterback if one falls. But I still have Daniel Jones. Even if they take a quarterback, I still see Daniel Jones starting at least week 1. But because he knows that system, and he is talented. And they just got Kenny Golladay. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be a top-tier fantasy quarterback. Don't get your hopes up for anything special coming out of him. I think he has probably half this year to figure it out, and then after that, if he's not good enough, they're going to find somebody else. It's just that simple. But fantasy-wise, no, he's not worth a roster spot. I tried to convince myself he was because I don't want to bash on too many guys, but the NFC quarterbacks are really top-heavy, and I just don't expect him to be that good. I mean, he's got Saquon coming back. He's got Kenny Golladay, like I said. Still got Slayton. Still got Evan Ingram. So Daniel Jones could have a big year, but I don't have much hope in him, to be honest. I feel like I'm being really negative, and I feel really bad, but I'm just telling the truth. 49ers. So this is going to cause some arguments, maybe. I'm trying to find the word for it. But I have Jimmy G as the starter, which I'm guaranteeing they're going to draft a quarterback. I'm not arguing that. But Jimmy G knows the system. He is a good quarterback. The only reason they're drafting a quarterback is because he gets hurt. I truly believe that. He just can't stay on the field. So he's going to start week 1, but if he gets hurt, he'll probably never play in the 49ers uniform again. I see it could be Mac Jones, it could be Trey Lance. I don't think it'll be Justin Fields, because in my last video I predicted him to the Broncos, but it very well could be Justin Fields. But whoever it is, I don't think they're going to start week 1. And I feel like that's not too crazy of a prediction, as Jimmy G's been in the system now for 4 years. I want to say 4. I might be wrong. It might be 3. But he knows the system, and he's a good quarterback. So fantasy-wise, he could be decent. If he's fully healthy, I see him being average. Nothing more. Probably 18 to 20, maybe. And that's at the peak for me. So let's just get on to the next one. Seahawks, easy one. Russell Wilson. There was some talks earlier that he was going to get traded, but I think he was just seeming unhappy. I don't think he ever wanted to leave. He just wanted to be respected and get his offensive line and better, so he wouldn't have to take so many sacks. But Russell Wilson's going to be a top tier guy in fantasy. He has the weapons. DK coming back after a strong season. Tyler Lockett. Chris Carson. He has the weapons, and he has the ability, as he showed last year. He kind of slowed off towards the end of last year, but I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be just as good, if not better, than he was last year, honestly. Next, we have the LA Rams. This is what I'm very excited about. Matthew Stafford. I think he's going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback next year. I've made that prediction. So he's got the weapons. He's got Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Cam Akers out of the backfield, and he's got the defense, so he can sling that thing without too much worry, because that defense will make a stop for you. I truly believe that. So Matthew Stafford's going to put up big numbers next year. I think he's going to be top tier, 25 plus. People are sleeping on Matt Stafford, and they're going to be sorry. I'm going to try to get him on my team no matter what. But next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Another easy one, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is going to be another top 5 guy. He was, I want to say, first. He was the best fantasy quarterback for a long time last year. Then he kind of fell off with injuries towards the end of the year. And I expect him to be healthy this year. He's going to run the ball for you. He's going to pass the ball for you. He's got D-Hop. He's still got Christian Kirk. They got to find that running back. Actually, they just signed James Conner. Sorry, just forgot about that. So, yeah, I expect this to be a high-powered offense. He's going to be slinging it, and he's going to put up a lot of points. I think that's the last one. Yep, that is the last one. So, thank you so much for watching. My Twitter is going to be in the description. Like and subscribe. For some reason, I am doing TikToks now. That'll be in the description too. Go give those a look. But thank you so much for watching. I'll be back on Wednesday.